Well, friends of Mundo Milan, it's exactly 12:01 a.m. Spanish time, and the transfer market has just closed. Just a minute ago, Manchester City officially announced the arrival of Nico González. Tomorrow, I can tell you that tomorrow you'll have a video analyzing in depth what Nico González can bring to Manchester City. Let's take a good look at Nico González because we're very close to that knockout round against Real Madrid, which I will be commenting on Movistar Plus. But Nico González is now officially a player of Manchester City. I'm telling you that we'll have it tomorrow. In this video, what we're going to do is review several signings that have been confirmed in the last few days, especially in the last few hours, and I already mentioned that tomorrow. This is the latest one that has been confirmed, probably the most important, or the one with the most name recognition for the team, given the need that Manchester City had. Tomorrow you will have a video analyzing in depth what Nico González is like and how he can play with Manchester City, etc., etc. But this is the first signing I wanted to discuss from a list of signings that we're going to analyze in depth. I've chosen a few signings. Logically, there are more, but I preferred to choose a few to analyze a bit more in depth with all of them. For example, Rashford, who is joining Aston Villa. There has been a lot of talk about him possibly joining Barcelona, but in the end, it's Aston Villa under Unai Emery that has signed Rashford. Let's see. I've always really liked Rashford as a player, to be honest. He's a player that I've always really liked a lot. Rashford. He can definitely cause a lot of damage playing on the left side. If you reach the level you have been able to reach, or the one he reached when he started his career, or in the early stages at Manchester United, he can be a very important player for Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa has lost a key player like Duran, and I think that no matter how much they've signed Rashford, he won't be able to replace, not by a long shot, what Duran meant for Aston Villa. Duran, as you know, has left. Here we have the image. He has gone to Al Nassr. In fact, today Al Nassr played their Asian Champions match. They won 4-0, and both he and Cristiano Ronaldo were starters. What a forward line Al Nassr has put together with Duran. Well, Mané has also played. That is to say, Mané, Duran, and Cristiano Ronaldo have been the forward line for Al Nassr today. It's a shame that he's leaving, and that he's leaving the Champions League. It's his decision, of course, regarding Duran, but I think that no matter how much Aston Villa has signed or wants to sign, it will be impossible to replace Duran. Because I like Rashford more clearly. I like him a lot more. Friends from Mundo Milan. Like I said, as a player, on the left wing than as a forward. And they've also signed, and here we have it, Marco Asensio, Aston Villa. Aston Villa has signed Marco Asensio. Notice that Aston Villa has signed Marco Asensio, who can play as a false 9, and Rashford, who can play on the left or as a 9. But they haven't signed a pure 9, because I insist neither of them is, obviously. Let's see what happens with Unai Emery's Aston Villa. Well, personally, I think Asensio is a player who hasn't fully tapped into all his potential. He didn't do it at Real Madrid. He didn't do it at Paris Saint-Germain, and we'll see if he can do it at Aston Villa. We'll see if he's capable of it. But I think he's a player who hasn't fully tapped into the potential he has. For me, Marco Asensio is a player who is too cold, who surely it doesn't finish. It doesn't end to be the professional at 100% that his talent deserves. That's what I think. What do I think of Santi Giménez, who has arrived at Milan? I also want to make a more specific video about Santi Giménez. Milan, now I'm talking about Morata, of course, signs the center forward who has been scoring goals in Holland. Scoring a lot of goals in Holland doesn't always mean that you'll succeed in bigger teams or in larger leagues like the Italian league. Great center forward, very good at making runs, very powerful, a great finisher. We'll see to what extent he can with the players he has alongside him. I'm talking about Samu, or I'm talking about Rafael Leão. What Santi Giménez can bring. I expect a lot from him, honestly. I expect a lot from him, but he's a signing that I still need to see a bit more of. We're also going to analyze in more depth what Santi Giménez can do in another video. And then Morata's departure. Obviously, Morata is leaving for Galatasaray. Morata, by the way, has already debuted today with Galatasaray with his new team. Turkish football is signing more and more well-known players. He's been doing it for a while. I was surprised by Alvaro Morata's departure. It is obvious that the signing is a big money signing. He is going to earn a lot of money. But Morata, after being with big teams like Chelsea, well, of course, Real Madrid, Atletico de Madrid, Chelsea, Juventus, Milan. This feels like a step back in his career for me, at least from the perspective of the team's level. He's going to play in the Europa League. He's no longer going to play in the Champions. He had issues with Conceição, which is probably one of the reasons why Morata has left for Turkish football. He's a key man in the Spanish national team, a crucial number 9 for Spain, and an essential player for the upcoming Nations League and the next World Cup. It's not great news, in my opinion, that Morata has left for Galatasaray for the Spanish national team. Let's see how it goes for him. But I clearly think it's a step back in his career. And I have to say, I'm surprised. This guy is Dorgu, the left back who was at Elche and has now moved to Manchester United. A very offensive fullback who can sometimes also play on the right. In fact, he scored a goal starting from the right at Elche. And well, Manchester United is a strategic signing for the future, for sure. It's not a signing that's going to change much about the team's makeup with Amorim, who is really struggling, but I also wanted to mention that Nico Zaniolo is leaving Atalanta for Fiorentina. Nico Zaniolo is a player who had and still has great potential because he's still very young, but an injury really set him back. He was one of the standout players from Roma's youth academy, destined to succeed at Roma. He had to leave. He went to Galatasaray, by the way, where they've been signing and continue to sign quite a few well-known players. He hasn't really played much at Atalanta, to be honest. And we're going to see Fiorentina, a team that is quite offensive, a team that has Moise Kean up front, for example, and a team where I think he can really showcase his abilities. I have a lot of faith in Zaniolo's signing with Fiorentina, I have to say. And then another blockbuster signing. One of the big loan deals, in this case, a blockbuster from the winter market, is Joao Felix. Joao Felix is already a player for Milan for the end of the season. Milan signs and Santi Giménez, and Milan signs Joao Felix. Will Joao Felix finally be able to succeed at another big club? The feeling I've had so far is that he hasn't done it in any of them. Not at Atletico Madrid, nor of course at Chelsea, nor of course at Barca. Let's see how this stage of Milan goes. With Conceição, positions, many of them. But in the end, on the wings, Milan has on one side Samu Chukwueze, and on the other side, Rafael Leão. Joao Felix behind a centre forward like Santi Giménez is a possibility. Pulisic is also there. I don't see it very clearly. I don't see it very clearly for Joao Felix at Milan. I really don't. Well, another detail, he's already a bit on a lower note. Calabria is leaving Milan to join Bologna to play as a right back for Bologna. I think there have been problems with Seixão in several Milan players, and one of them is Calabria, who is leaving, just as he is leaving. Alvaro Morata, just a little more detail I want to share with you. For example, this important one, Matistel to Tottenham, a phenomenal forward. A forward who has practically always scored goals whenever he has appeared for Bayern Munich. I think that at Bayern Munich, he was still quite overshadowed logically by the level of the squad and by the level of what he has around him because he has Harry Kane in the centres, but on the wings, Gnabry, Mané, it's very difficult to get in Müller behind. So I think that it's a good place for Matistel. And we will see in this immediate future at Tottenham. I really believe in Matistel for a Tottenham that is going through a tough time, although they are really struggling. And this is what I wanted to mention. The topic of Okafor for Napoli. I've always really liked Okafor. Napoli has lost Kvaratskhelia, as you all know. For example, I need to make a video talking about how Kvaratskhelia is playing, as he's doing really well at PSG with Dembele as a striker and with Barcelona on the side. But, well, Okafor arrives at Napoli. To properly fill the centre-forward position, there's Lukaku, or the second striker position on the left, close to where Kvaratskhelia was, a very different player, but I think he can fit in quite well in the area where Kvaratskhelia played. This is what I wanted to mention to you. There are more signings, of course, but I wanted to highlight these that I think are the most significant. There are a few more, of course, but I just want to say that tomorrow, friends of Mundo Milan, you will have a special video about the signings from these days, of course, which is about Nico González to Manchester City. Would he play against Real Madrid? I imagine that's why they signed him. A hug. Bye.